And welcome back to episode 150 of the Weekly Tech Rant with me, Jay.
And me, Carl.
It's that time of the week again.
It is. Oh, yeah, and we're doing it again. It's a repeat of last week.
I tell you, there's a gremlin in the system of the soundboard.
It's not incompetence, honest.
Yeah, I wonder whether it's got a loop on it. I reckon there must be some loop feature that I've enabled by mistake. But hey, it is gremlin time. That's what time of week it is. It's gremlin time. Well, we're back for episode 150. I can't believe we've got to this stage. But thank you for hanging on in there with us. Whoa, what a week it has been, isn't it? We have got
crazy weekend.
I would say to you, it probably is a Hollywood film in the making, is it not? Or
it will be,
Netflix
definitely.
Drama. The Netflix drama in the making. Well, we're going to talk to you about OpenAI and the catastrophic meltdown / roller coaster that happened pretty much last weekend and over this last week. If you've not seen much of it, or you've kind of not really been sure what's going on, we're going to talk you through the whole saga. We'll also cover SpaceX with the Starship flight. Gearbox owner Embracia Group has made some layoffs, and we saw that one coming. And Broadcom finally closed out the VMware $61 billion acquisition this week again, so we'll talk about the changes there. We've got a couple of films and TV in review this week, and we've got one rumor in the bucket as well. But let's kick off then with this crazy saga of OpenAI. So let me just tee this up before we kick into it.
Ooh.
Pretty much it goes like this, doesn't it? And we'll get into the details. Sam Altman fired. Sam Altman considered to be reinstated. Microsoft hires Sam Altman, and Sam Altman returns. That's basically the chapter summaries, isn't it?
Yeah. Move along. Nothing else to hear.
But pretty much then. So last week on was it the
Friday?
Last week, Friday, November 17th. So a week ago, last Friday. Breaking news: Sam Altman got fired as the CEO of OpenAI, didn't he? In a random sort of sudden move.
Execution, some might say, but the board unanimously voted to fire him. They kind of put out a statement saying, Mr. Altman's departure follows a deliberative review process by the board, which concluded that he was not consistently candid in his communication with the board, hindering its ability to exercise its responsibilities. The board no longer has confidence in its ability to continue leading OpenAI. Though they wouldn't substantiate, or provide any evidence, and we've still not seen any evidence, have we, about this consistently candid or lack of communication, basically.
If we go back to that, if we take that incident in isolation, as you say, there was really nothing that was like concrete to say, oh my god, what did he do? Or here's a screenshot of something he sent or he said. There was nothing really to say, wow, that's
a firing offence, and it wasn't only him, though, was it? They also removed Greg Brockman, who was one of the co-founders. They removed him from the board, but he didn't get to keep his job.
No, but he then quit, didn't he?
He resigned shortly after.
Interestingly, though, Sam Altman himself, about an hour later, on the same day, on the Friday, posted on X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it, basically saying, yeah, great, thanks, I love my time at OpenAI. The man doesn't know how to use capital letters, I've noted. Basically said that he enjoyed it, and I've got a new gig coming up, pretty much. I've got more to say about what's next. So kind of like, well, maybe there's something going on here, wasn't we? We were kind of...
Yeah, we were speculating there must be some big announcement or something he'd done really badly that, for the reason, the board to get rid of him. He was very successful leading OpenAI. He's the face of OpenAI. So to suddenly fire him, it must have been serious. But, we'll get onto that. And what did they do? They put the current CTO, Mira Murati. They said she'd be the interim CEO, until they fulfilled or found someone else to be the CEO. But then things got a bit more crazy, didn't they?
Well, they did. And then, this all happened. Microsoft had Ignite that week, didn't they? And they put out loads of innovations and updates around AI, basically across everything. And they made a comment, didn't they? They commented to The Verge and other things, saying that they've got a long-term partnership with OpenAI, and we're committed to Mira and the team as we bring the next era of AI to customers. That's according to a statement sent by the Microsoft spokesperson. And Satya Nadella basically said the same thing in a tweet, didn't he, as well?
He did, yeah.
So there's some weird stuff going on. So it just seemed that maybe Sam Altman had done something
very bad.
Really bad, yeah. And what we couldn't figure out was what had he done. And then, as you say, then it got weird, didn't it? Then it got
Yeah.
very
So we
dark.
had we had a number of other senior researchers resign at the same time, saying that they'd basically follow Sam wherever he was going. Uh, but then, yeah, but then OpenAI's board said they were in discussions with Sam for him to return. It was a key deadline, I think 5 p.m. on Saturday night, which the board missed. And many more OpenAI staff have said at that point they're resigning as well. So we've got quite a following going here. So basically, talks failed with Sam. Sam wanted the board to step down, was the understanding. Of course, the board refused. So bizarrely, the board then announced that ex-Twitch CEO and co-founder Emmett Shear had been named interim CEO, not Mira Marathi. So that was a bit weird. But we didn't really hear much more to the morning, did we, till Sunday?
No, and just I guess at this point, what we should also add is that the guy from Twitch also has quite a large holding in the AI competitor, OpenAI competitor,
Yeah,
Anthropic, doesn't it? So we'll just keep that in mind at this point as well.
he does. So what
So,
was Sunday? What did we get to Sunday?
yeah,
That was it. Sam and Greg, and together with many other colleagues, are now joining Microsoft. Was the announcement?
yes,
He was going to lead a new advanced AI research team at Microsoft, be the CEO of it.
that's it. So yeah, massive development. All of a sudden, massive curveball flying around the corner
Yep.
as Satya put a tweet out, didn't he, saying,
Yep.
"We're super excited to have you join as the CEO of this new group, Sam. I'm setting pace for innovation." Blah 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 went on, and like it was like, whoa! All of a sudden, Greg Brockman pops up on Twitter as well,
Yep.
going, "We're going to build something new," and the new leadership was going to be Mira, Sam,
Yeah.
him, and a couple of the other key people from OpenAI. So
Yeah.
almost like, oh my god,
What's going
Microsoft
on?
just pulled off one hell of a coup because remember they put in, was it 80 billion? If I was it about 80 billion, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Or no, was it? Hang on, maybe I've got it wrong. I think they lost.
10.
Sorry, yeah, that was it. Sorry, they put in 10 billion investment into OpenAI, and when the news of Sam Altman broke, their stock price dropped by
It
80
did, yeah.
billion dollars because of the the war about investment. Now, on the news of Sam Altman joining Microsoft, well, you can imagine the stock rallied. It didn't just rally; it went through the roof, didn't it? It was
And
just,
the other thing that certainly helped it, then a letter surfaced, a letter that 700 employees of OpenAI AI, no, but they only have 770 employees, so 700 out of 770 had signed this letter basically saying, we're resigning. If Sam isn't reinstated, we'll follow him wherever he goes. And obviously, Microsoft put out a statement saying, anyone at OpenAI would like a job, we'll take him on. We'll match all their their salary and whatever bonuses they're getting. So it looked like, Microsoft maybe just got the entire of OpenAI for 10 billion.
yeah, so they basically picked it up for pocket change. They basically acquired, at this point in time, it looked like they'd acquired OpenAI, as you say, without buying the company. They'd got all of the leadership. They were going to pick up pretty much most of the engineering team if they
Yep.
wanted to
Yep.
match the compensation, all without regulatory oversight, all without having to buy the company. They pretty much pulled off what can only be described as the sale of the century.
I mean,
And
did you see that? Who else signed that letter about resigning?
yes, Ilya.
Yes,
Ilya.
who a member of the board, wasn't he? Who got rid of Sam?
Well, he wasn't a member of the board. He was a chief scientist.
No, but he was on the board.
Sorry, so yes, he was on the board.
He's a chief scientist, but he was on the board that got rid of Sam.
Sutskavia. I apologize, I butchered that terribly. But he's pretty much one of the brains behind OpenAI, isn't he?
Yeah.
And he is really much about leading it. He, moved from Russia to Israel. He, his interest in neural networks, artificial learning, deep learning. And 4 days ago, he put out a tweet, which I'll come back to in a minute. But yeah, he was one of the leading proponents of overthrowing Sam effectively and getting him out of OpenAI. And you're right, he pretty much did a U-turn and said, actually, no, I think Sam should come back. Now, whilst this is all going on, we've also then got Mark Benioff from Salesforce popping up.
Oh, yeah, haven't we? Yeah.
Basically saying, if you want to come and join Salesforce, work on Einstein, which is their OpenAI chat GPT / whatever, enterprise bot competitor, we'll match your salaries. Come and work under this great team here. And he was trying to poach all of them as well. It's like, what the hell is going on? We've got OpenAI, who are the darlings of this, new world of artificial intelligence, going on. We've got regulatory issues going on behind the scenes for months. We've now, got the company in free fall.
Yeah.
You've got competitors like looking here to snap everybody up. Microsoft looks like they're about to pull off this coup. And then the other weird rumors start flying around that why Sam was let go. And none of these have been substantiated.
No.
But one of the ones that keeps popping up is that there had been a major discovery around AGI. And AGI, which is artificial general intelligence, is the thing that they're all after.
The
The
Holy
whole
Grail.
reason, the holy grail, the whole reason OpenAI exists is to create artificial general intelligence, which, for all intents and purposes, is, I'm going to use the worst example known to man, but it's like Skynet. It's like Johnny Five from,
Yeah.
it is a computer that has the ability to think for itself and make decisions. Now, that intelligence level initially is not going to be that of I guess, a mature human being. It's going to be of a child, but that is the point where we have crossed the threshold of not sentience, but we've crossed the threshold of just being able to ask questions and get a natural language response back, haven't we? That is the
Yeah.
key game here. And there were some rumors going around that OpenAI had made these discoveries and that Sam wanted to push ahead with the commercial angle without taking on board the safety aspects with him. Because the whole
Yeah.
worry is if we get AGI, we're, to put it bluntly, we are screwed as a race, aren't we? Because that's
Take
it.
the worst of Terminator and all those bad sci-fi movies, and
Yeah. Now, what we should stress here at this point, none of this has been verified, and other critics have shot this down, going, actually, that's not the case at all. There are different levels of AGI, and it could be that actually OpenAI has, crossed the threshold in terms of technology, but not one that they are releasing to the public. However, the other parts came back. Then the other side of the rumors were that Sam, actually, the worry was more about Sam pushing himself forward from the commercial aspect of trying to push out capabilities, isn't it? Monetize OpenAI, as opposed to that core goal of what they were trying to achieve, which is the AGI piece here. But as you say, none of this was going on, and we've got oh god, what's the guy's name again? The Twitch guy, I've just forgotten his name.
Emmett.
We've got Emmett saying he's asked the board to give him definitive proof that Sam had done something wrong, hadn't he?
Yeah.
And we didn't get it. We didn't get it. Nothing happened. And then on
Tuesday,
which was the 22nd, wasn't it, if I remember correctly? We went full circle.
We did. They announced there was an agreement in principle, it said, had been reached between OpenAI and Sam for him and Greg to return. Nearly all the previous board will be replaced, with the exception of Adam D'Angelo. With new board members, Brett Taylor and Larry Summers will be joining, and Ilya Sutskiva, Tasha McClowley, and Helen Toner stepping down. So they were the other three, along with Adam, who were on the original board. So they'll be stepping down, apparently. And the main job of this small initial board is to vet and appoint an expanded board of up to 9 people that will reset the governance of OpenAI, apparently. So, as you can imagine, both Microsoft and Sam want a seat at the board on this new OpenAI board. But yeah, and also both sides have agreed to an investigation by an independent third party into what actually happened. Some would call it a hostile takeover by the board, really, which is pretty much what we think it probably is.
Yeah, and don't forget that's a non-profit board as well.
It is, yeah.
Everybody on that is a non-profit executives. I mean, there's some weird other elements that came out. So the Verge did some investigations on their own, didn't they? What's going on here? And one of the things was apparently what they discovered was that on Sunday, Ilya had his position changed due to, and again, this is only by the Verge's reporting, a plead from Greg Brockman's wife. Now, it turns out, according to their reporting, that Ilya was the one that officiated their wedding at the OpenAI headquarters.
Oh, okay.
Talk about brilliant. So, with that gone, and because he was, as you say, possibly the ringleader here, the rest of the 3 remaining board members, clearly their position was then going to be untenable, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So, Emmett Shear, for all intents and purposes,
was hired and fired in like 24 hours.
He said he was going to quit, didn't he? Unless they could prove.
Yeah, he did.
There was also rumours, and again, these are unsubstantiated at the moment, that there were talks about OpenAI looking to merge with Anthropic, wasn't it? Anthropic said no. Now that's the one. If you're not familiar with Anthropic is the one that is kind of backed by AWS at the moment. And they have Claude, which is their OpenAI, their ChatGPT kind of equivalent. I've used Claude. Claude's really good. Claude is really good if you want to do long form. They've just released Claude 2.0, and again, guess what? They're monetizing it as well. But yeah, I mean, this was just absolutely bonkers, wasn't it? And then on the 22nd November, there was a post on Twitter by Greg, kind of major selfie with all the OpenAI team in the background saying, "We are so back." Microsoft have also supported this, haven't they? They've kind of supported the whole thing. Given that you've got Nadella saying he's welcoming to Microsoft. They're going to have this great new business unit. We've heard nothing more about that, have we? To see what's going on there?
No. I mean, he had to take a shot. Let's be honest. If you could pick up OpenAI, and they spent what, 10 billion? The share price on that announcement probably covered that 10 billion.
Probably so, but I wouldn't be surprised if they are now their partnership with Microsoft deepens massively now.
Yeah, well, Satya Nadella, he'll be wanting a seat on that board, won't he?
Yeah, and I think that Sam and Greg more than likely will have some either a non-executive role or whatever in shaping that AI unit at Microsoft. That's my personal thing.
Yeah.
Now, on the 22nd, Microsoft's CTO, and EVP of AI, Kevin Scott, sent out an internal email, didn't they, about OpenAI? Now, The Verge got a copy of this as well, and they said, I'm not going to read all of it, but it pretty much explains what's gone on. And they basically said that they're really pleased to carry on working with Sam and his team, and they've put, despite the potential of the past few days to distract us, both Microsoft and OpenAI scientists have been working with undiminished urgency. They've said Azure has deployed new AI compute features. OpenAI continues to ship new features like the voice piece in ChatGPT. Apparently, you can now talk to ChatGPT on iOS and your Android apps. Very good.
Okay.
And they've said all of these things will be an accomplishment for a quarter for normal teams. However, they've done it with 3 in a week with a major US holiday and all this noise around us. So really, clearly there's a lot going on behind the scenes between these two teams. And they've said, on behalf of the senior leadership team, we thank you all for your resolve and all the people that have gone above and beyond in the last few days. And Nadella said the same thing as well. He put out a message saying, how good this is, the company's great, etc., etc., etc. So what they don't talk about in both of their emails is this new advanced AI research team, or that Altman won't join Microsoft.
No, it's gone quiet on that, so we'll have to wait and see. Don't imagine next week will be anywhere near as turbulent as this one was, but hopefully we'll have some updates.
Yeah, and I think let's take a step back to the whole thing. The AGI piece, right, is that what the whole reason is that OpenAI exists. OpenAI's mission statement is to ensure artificial general intelligence benefits all humanity.
Yeah,
that is their goal. And if they are successful in creating that apparently that deal with Microsoft is not null and void, but basically OpenAI have become a competitor of every other company in the world.
Well, yes.
Because they can then have the ability to provide the capability to not replace. That's not going to happen. I think that's the thing we need to kind of level set here, isn't it, as well, with AGI? This is not going to be Skynet. This is not going to be the end of everybody's jobs who use, a computer or capabilities like that. This is not that. AGI will become a tool. And it's the same way that, the car or the tractor didn't get rid of, people who worked manual labor in agriculture or anything like that. It just changed the way we work. And AGI will do the same. It will change the way we work and technology interacts with us, isn't it? That's effectively what's going to happen here. But the worry is that if AGI falls into the wrong hands and you have it with, should we say, nefarious regimes or whatever, there is a worry then that obviously things could happen.
Of course.
But that's the worry that we have with any technology, isn't it?
It is, yeah. It's just another tool. It's how we use it.
It is, but my God, like you say, this past week, I don't think if you'd said to me, like, at the end of last week after we finished our last show and we wrapped up, you're never going to guess what's going to happen now.
No, wouldn't have thought that.
we were talking about what kind of stories covering for show 150, and I'm like, we were talking about maybe some things. Well, this was just it just landed in our laps, didn't it? And it was just we were exchanging messages of the different updates. It was like, have you seen this? And every time it was just like a bombshell every time, wasn't it? Boom, boom,
Yeah.
boom. But there you go. So this is, quite frankly, the craziest week I think we've had in some of the tech for some time. And I suspect we will have more updates as we go. Yeah, OpenAI, keep doing what you're doing. I'm enjoying your capabilities. I have to say, the latest updates to ChatGPT have been really, really good. The DALI 3 integration, you can just say to it, create me a picture.
Yeah.
Has been very good. I've been having some great fun with that with my kids. They've been writing to Santa Claus.
Yeah.
And OpenAI has made me some fantastic pictures that I've sent back to them.
Brilliant.
It's been very, very good, and that response, so very good. And I've also been creating my own GPTs. I showed you the other day I've created my
You
own
did, yes.
GPT as a security advisor, but after teaching it myself, super simple, really, really easy to do. So yeah, very cool technology. Okay then. So once we take a breath, let's talk about some different tech. Let's talk about space and rockets then. So
Yes.
SpaceX have also been in the news in the last weekend as well, haven't they?
They have. They launched there was their second test flight for Starship. It ultimately ended in what they call a rapid unscheduled disassembly, or boom, an explosion. But it did well. It did much better than the last one, didn't it? We started off well. I think, was it all 33 engines ignited on the Super Heavy booster, which was better than last time. Great. It successfully lifted off. The launch pad didn't self-destruct this time, so that's a winner.
That new assembly that they had put in place. I saw some pictures apparently afterwards. Elon Musk tweeted that it was still in place and with some minor work would be ready to go, or refurbishment for the next launch. So great work.
So that was great. It went up. We had a successful separation, didn't we, with Starship from the Super Heavy booster.
Yeah, no so past the Kármán line.
Yeah. The booster did explode after separation, rather than continuing down to do they're planning a descent into a water landing, weren't they? So
they were, yeah.
That didn't really work, but no, still, Starship was fine at that point. It fired all its engines off, made it to space, continued up to 91 miles, I think it was, above the Earth. So we're well into space at this point, and then we lost contact. So it blew up at that point. It is the understanding. We don't know why it blew up yet. I've not seen any report about why, but I'm sure we will.
No, and one of the things they did here was something they had enough forward. They did what's called a hot staging, wasn't it? So they separated Starship from the Super Heavy rocket, and a hot staging is basically where the booster, the Super Heavy, has burned through most of its fuel and is ready to break away.
Yeah.
And then what happens then is all the rockets go through a process called stage separation, which splits them, break away. This one. It has the Falcon, which is the one that we see all the time doing the landings, back on that. That has what they call pneumatic pushers. So that has a ring between the two systems, the two parts of the rocket, that pushes one away from the other.
Yes, yeah? And then they fire the engines on the second one, don't they? Yeah.
Starship, though, the hot separation is exactly how it might stand. Is basically Starship turned on its engines and accelerated away from the booster. Now that may or may not have been the reason why we had the unintended rapid disassembly. Starship or SpaceX haven't said the reason behind it, but they have said that they are saying that this is a success. The fact that we passed the Kármán line, we got into space, as far as they're concerned, was a successful. But some critics have said that this could slow down NASA's Human Landing System program, because they were expecting it to have released.
I'm not sure. I mean, I'd say, look, we got delayed because the last time it blew up the landing pad and caused an awful mess in Texas, didn't it?
It did, didn't it?
Now that it's proved the landing pad works and it doesn't blow up, I think they'll get their launch windows a lot quicker. And this is the way SpaceX works. It does, rapid development, rapid failures, I think that's what they call it, don't they? So they'll learn from this, they'll fire the next one up. If that doesn't work, they'll learn from that, and it'll keep getting better over time. It's exactly what they did with the Falcon rockets.
And this is the difference to NASA themselves, isn't it, in the way they operate? and must say that SpaceX do not, safety is a massive concern. So there's no loss of, they're not trying to do things on the cheap, or the way technology, tech companies work, wasn't it? Fail fast, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's how they're not operating it. But you're right. This is about rapid development. It's the ability to move quickly. Unlike government agency where there's a lot of regulation and compliance, and money, of course, that's the other major issue here. They are able to move a lot quicker and,
Yeah.
as you say, get things up and running. And you're right. This, they are ahead of any other, well, anybody else, quite frankly, if I put
And
it
it will
bluntly.
still come in less than SLS, even with all these explosions.
Well, this is the thing, isn't it? They are massively ahead of SLS, and SLS. Well, we've had what? We've had one launch of SLS with the
Yeah.
Orion. With the moon, and when's the next? I can't. I'm not even sure when the next
No idea.
SLS.
Well, once they built a new one,
Um,
because it's not reusable, is it?
no, so the SLS launch schedule, I did have it here, is meant to be November next year.
We probably had
So
2 or 3 more Starships by that point.
yeah, so the Artemis 2 mission is
Yeah.
meant to launch in a year's time. And that is the first manned mission. So that's basically going to be the same as Apollo 10, where they
Right.
launched them. They're going to fly to the moon, do a dry run around the moon, and come back. So
A loop
literally,
round
it's
and
going to be
back,
one
yeah.
of the
Okay.
a full system test with a manned crew.
Everything but
But,
landing.
yeah, which is basically what Apollo 10 did. Now, as you say, I'd imagine we'll have probably had two, at least one, if not two, Starship tests or launched by then.
Yeah.
But look, I'm so impressed to see this. It's amazing to see the development in space. I mean, alongside AI, the race to get people back onto the moon, onto Mars, is just so exciting. It really is, isn't it? It
Yeah.
just is. We live in a time where it's not just the Americans or the Russians, or whoever else has got a flight program, China, India. We've got commercial side here. We haven't even got to the Blue Origin, have we? There is it the Shepherd launch yet? That
Nope.
hasn't been done yet. Jeff Bezos's male anatomy shaped rockets. Those haven't. We're still waiting for him, but they're apparently close to doing their lander
Okay.
testing, aren't they, as well? So yeah, we got lots going on. I think next year could be a really interesting year. But yeah, SpaceX second. I can't get the words out. SpaceX second Starship test
Yep.
flight was a success, depending on how you look at it. Then.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Cool.
now on to
What
more
next?
bad news.
Oh,
So yeah, I think you probably heard over the last year. We've probably mentioned several times that Embracer Group have just been gobbling up companies left, right, and centre, haven't they? They're kind of a behemoth now of game publishers. They own so many companies. Well, now it's restructuring time, and they are laying off up to 900 people, apparently, around 5% of the total workforce. And that's despite, I mean, they did their earnings the other day, and they had net sales increasing year on year of 13%. For the second quarter of 2023. Also stated that it's the strongest quarter for new releases ever, so they seem to be doing really, really well. But obviously, they bought these companies, now need to start cutting people. So, yeah, it's not great. They're going to shut down Saints Row developer, Volition, is it? Volition? Saints Row? Volition, isn't it? Yeah. Lay off staff at Myth Force developer Beamdog. And Star Trek Online developer Cryptic. They're also reportedly on the verge of closing down the Time Splitters developer Free Radical, and are looking into selling Gearbox as well. So that's quite a number of different companies there.
it is, isn't it? And when they bought or snaffled up, I suppose, well, look at it, isn't it?
Yeah.
All these studios. We kind of did think, didn't we, at the time, this is not going to end well.
No.
And unsurprisingly, it hasn't ended well. And some of those big launches, Payday 3 was one of them, wasn't it? That we played earlier in the year. Earlier in the year. Earlier.
We need to get back to
months
that
ago.
because it has improved. They've ironed out loads of bugs. We should definitely have a go on that one again. But it was disastrous launch.
Yes, that's probably the best way to describe it. Yeah,
We lost many an evening just trying to get into a match.
That matchmaking piece was, quite frankly, abysmal.
Yeah.
It's just it's just painful because you have a game there now. Payday. What I will say, by the way, about Payday 3, I think they should have called it Payday 2 Redux or something, because it
Yeah.
is effectively
HD
Payday 2.
remaster, yeah, or whatever.
Yeah, with all the levels redone. Don't get me wrong, it looks pretty. Plays well when you get into it. It's just
It was annoying you had to do the matchmaking even for single player, bizarrely.
yeah,
Matchmaking with
that is really
yourself.
odd. I don't get that. And I had a quick go on it the other night, literally 20 minutes,
Mm.
and I couldn't get into it again.
Oh, no, still,
And
server issues.
well, I think it may have just been, I just gave up. It was just painful. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see.
But yeah, bad news for the guys there, unfortunately. And say more bad news is, depending how you look on it, good news for
Oh, I was
Broadcom.
going to say, that depends how you look at it, doesn't it?
Not so good for the people at VMware, I imagine. So yeah, basically, Broadcom has finally closed the deal to buy VMware for 61 billion. It was waiting. It finally got the approval from China, didn't it? But China have put some restrictions, like our CSA does. Not CSA, CMA, sorry. There's
Yeah.
restrictions imposed on the deal on how Broadcom sells products locally in China. Namely, it has to kind of ensure that VMware's service software will be interoperable with rival hardware. So, and I think that's a good thing from China. It will benefit everyone in that way. But yeah, and then it just goes from bad to worse. So it's pretty much as soon as the deal was done, didn't we? We heard from people we know that Broadcom basically got to rip down all the VMware signs in all the VMware buildings and put Broadcom signs up pretty much overnight.
Yeah, there was even pictures out of the VMware offices in the States, wasn't there, where there was
Yeah,
like a perfectly shaped Broadcom cover that had gone over the VMware office
logo.
on the roadside, wasn't it?
Yeah,
And it was perfect. It wasn't just like they shoved one over. Somebody had gone to the trouble of making one that fitted the
these have been
kind of
made for
triangle.
ages, haven't they? They've been sent out that night to go and do it everywhere.
I just had to laugh when I saw it. But yeah, interesting. They haven't changed any of the socials. So like on Twitter and stuff like that, on LinkedIn, it still says VMware. Though I have noticed that the logo was darkened. By the way, I don't know if
As
you've
it
seen
is that to indicate it's death.
that. But that aside, yeah, they were very quick to do it. And there was a post put out, wasn't it, saying on the register we saw the new
Yep,
business units that's going
we
to make
did.
up um, VMware by Broadcom. That's what I couldn't think of the name of it.
Yeah,
That's what I
the
called it.
four new will be restructured into four divisions. They said, didn't they? So we've got a VMware Cloud Foundation division, VCF, a Tanzu division, a software-defined Edge division, an application network and security division. But and we've mentioned this in the past. We were always wondering what's going to happen to end user computing, and that was not mentioned in any of those divisions, was it?
No, it's interesting. They say so. Application network and security makes me wonder whether they're going to retain Carbon Black. Then I think by the look of it.
They might, yeah, strip
Uh,
out Carbon Black.
well, I
I
think Carbon
don't
Black
know what
will
happens to Horizon, which is part of end
no.
user computing.
Yeah, I think Carbon Black will stay because that. But you're
Yeah,
right. The EUC overlay. So that's the acquisitions of AirWatch, which makes up their mobile device man. Oh, sorry. It's not mobile device management anymore, is it? What am I?
UEM, Unified Endpoint
Endpoint
Management.
management. I should know that. As well as Horizon, as you say, which is the desktop as a service offering their capabilities. Now, we haven't heard anything about it. All of those business units are now run by a VP or SVP, and they all have the title general manager.
Yeah.
They're all VMware executives who have previously been in the company. Interestingly, they all look to be Indian based VPs. Now, they may be in the
Yeah.
US. Again, real coup there. In terms of not just the traditional background of white middle class male executives. So again,
Oh.
we're seeing some real diversity in tech leadership. But you're right, they've gone. Got to do
One
it.
executive who's no longer there though is the
Yes,
CEO,
I was just
Raghu.
say he has gone, hasn't
He
he?
has he stepped down from the CEO role. I presume he's probably hanging around for a little bit to ensure a smooth
Transition or something. Yeah.
transition. But yeah, his days are numbered. I say, and that's what we think is probably going to happen with end user computing. So Broadcom really didn't mention them. We suspect they will probably be sold off or stripped for parts. But yeah, wherever you sit in VMware currently, I suspect there's going to be massive layoffs inbound, even in those four divisions.
Yeah, exactly. And as you say, Raghu, who left the company as CEO, pretty much I think we all knew. And I I worked for VMware at the time when he took over after Pat left,
Yeah,
and it pretty much felt like he was caretaker. I think a lot of people thought that. And then when they had the spin off from Dell,
yeah.
again, you kind of thought, this doesn't look good.
No, it doesn't.
And he put out a letter on LinkedIn. He put out a sanitized version of the email he sent to all VMware employees. Apparently, there were some bits missing, but he basically says, all the good things, great job, blah 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 blah, and says that he's going to take a short break, rejuvenate, and then find a new and impactful mission in which I can pour my energy. But he's going to stay as an association with VMware as a strategic advisor to Hock Tan. So there you go.
Yeah.
That was the point around it. But yeah, end of an era, really. I think VMware's not going anywhere, obviously, as a
No, of course not.
technology product, but I think end of an era as an independent software company, or at least one as a company that's traded on the stock exchange, as they were. So yeah, I don't know. Is this the turning point? Do we see now people like Nutanix, who they competed with, stepping up to fill
Yeah.
that position that VMware had? I think probably not straight away, but I do suspect the days of the software-defined data center have probably changing. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, well, we know Broadcom are going to hike those prices of your VMware licenses. So over the next couple of years, they're going to go up tremendously. So there'll be a lot of people that will just push out who can't afford that. A lot of companies. So yeah, we will see new players or old players step up to the plate.
There is. So, but again, those that are still at VMware, we wish you well.
Wish you the best of luck.
Yeah, I'm sure many of you though will make a good career out of time Broadcom, and obviously being part of a much larger organization gives you opportunities. But for those that are looking for new roles or searching again, good luck in that area as well. And please leverage your networks. We, those of us that are in the industry, we're there to help. Okay, so let's talk about TV then. We've got two things this weekend. We've got a new Apple TV series.
We have.
And a new film that's dropped. So let's talk about the TV series, which is part of the MonsterVerse, isn't it?
Yes. Monarch Legacy of Monsters. So I think I've watched the first 3 episodes. I bet this is it's basically it's set around Godzilla and all the other kaiju and stuff like that, and it's I think it's set just after 2014's Godzilla film. But before the happenings of 2019's Godzilla King of Monsters, if you watch these films.
Kong films.
And the Kong films, yeah.
Well, the first Kong film obviously happened before this, didn't it? The first Kong film set in the 70s, isn't it? So
yeah,
Kong versus Godzilla. Okay, cool. So all right, so we're kind of in a separate time zone then. So what's the premise?
So basically, we're kind of following 2 groups of people here, and the mysterious Monarch organization, and it's spread across 2 different time zones. I think one's like 1950s, 60s, and the other's 2015. So it's one of those ones that jumps back and forth between time zones or time. So you need to pay attention when you're watching it. But so it's generally following what is in the 1950s, 60s, where they discover these giant monsters, and Monarch becomes an organization, or it's a research firm at that point, working for the military. And it's the beginnings of that, and they're starting to study these monsters and figure out, I suppose, how they can kill them and protect themselves from it. And then the timeline running in 2015 is around a small group of people who don't know Monarch yet, but it seems that their parents were part of the organization and have mysteriously died or gone missing. So I'm only on episode 3. That's all that's been released so far. So it's still early days and a lot of mystery involved. But so far, me and my wife have been thoroughly enjoying it. It's kind of kept us captivated. There's a nice pace to it. It's not all about the monsters. You usually see at least one monster every episode so far, but it's not the main part of the story yet.
Excellent. This is fantastic. I mean, I really love the MonsterVerse films.
Yeah.
I watched, funnily enough, the Godzilla one the other night, the one where he attacks he doesn't attack San Francisco, does he? He has a fight with the 2 Kaiju who are trying to lay their eggs in San Francisco.
Yeah, that's it.
And that's really good. And I quite like the one Godzilla King of the Monsters as well. With the mega, the kind of super Muto, wasn't it? And things like that. It's really good. And I think for me, this was something when I saw it advertised was like, oh, this will either be awesome or it'll be terrible. But then, as it's an Apple TV show, kind of a bit of bias comes in.
It's got a big budget.
Yeah, it's going to have a budget. And it's got a great cast. So Kurt Russell's in it.
He is, yes.
John Goodman, I understand, pops up as well.
He does, yep.
And again, there's other actors involved, but a couple of big names, I should say, to start with, at least that point.
It's refreshing to see the other side of it, because they mention Godzilla in San Fran as part of the initial story. But there's because I think this is mostly set in 2015-16. There's still a lot of misunderstanding about what actually went on there, and people just don't know. So it's still early days for that. Yeah, very, very good. So if you like any of the Godzilla films, or you just like kaiju and monsters in general, definitely watch it.
Awesome. Well, I've got that queued up for a flight that I'm going to be doing in a couple of weeks' time, so I'll be
Yep.
enjoying those. I think on that note. So talking then to from kind of monsters to again a bit of AI.
Yeah, a bit of AI.
We've got the Creator then, which has just come out as well, hasn't it?
We have. So this is
Released
what
earlier
this is
in the
set
UK.
further in the future. 2070, I think it's meant to be. So, and it's set 15 years after a nuclear detonation in LA. And it was AI that set off the nuclear detonation. So there's a war going on between artificial intelligence and the human race, or parts of the human race, generally the Americans. Yeah, the world seems to be split into two. There's the people like New Asia who want to coexist with the AI, and the AI in this film is in the form of robots, not Terminator-like ones. They all look very, very human. And then there's the Americans who want to destroy at all costs because obviously they blew up Los Angeles, so kind of understandable there. And the premise really is around an ex-special forces agent who's re-recruited to hunt down and kill the Creator, who has really developed a mysterious weapon with the power to end the war, apparently. I don't really want to spoil too much about what the super weapon is, but safe to say, he goes on a journey of self-discovery, but also he's ex-special forces, so there's lots of shooting and death and explosions as you go along. It's a bit action-packed.
Sounds good.
Yeah, definitely one to watch. It's a bit hard to explain. I'd give away too much by telling you too much. But I'm not sure. I really enjoyed it, though. Doing my research for the podcast here, I did look on IMDb and it did not get a good rating. So I don't know. Maybe it's not good for most people, but I enjoyed it.
I guess it depends on whether or not that's your taste, I suppose. Then, isn't it?
Looking at the things, people were analysing too much and saying there were plot holes and stuff like that. I was like, but yeah, it was. I just viewed it as a sit back, enjoy the premise kind of film, and yeah, I did enjoy it, and so did my wife.
Awesome. Well, again, that's in my list for that trip as well. So I'm looking forward to these. This should be good. Awesome. Well, in that case, then I think that brings us nicely to. And we've got one rumor in the bucket this week, then, haven't we? Which is
the iPhone SE4. This is going to be quite an upgrade if true, and actually a compelling value proposition from Apple. You don't often hear value associated. I know.
Whoa.
So we might as well end now. It's all lies. Clearly, it's not going to happen. But they are saying the iPhone SE will be getting new looks with the SE4. It's rumored to be using a slightly modified iPhone 14 based chassis. So the current one uses iPhone 8, isn't it? I think it's the one with the touch button on the home button on the front.
Yeah.
So apparently,
yes, the older chassis that isn't it?
It is. So you're going to get one from the 14, but it's modified. So apparently, you're getting the action button. You're getting USB-C, but it has to come with USB-C, doesn't it? Because that's the law over in Europe now. And you'll be getting a different camera bump to accommodate the upgraded 48 megapixel back camera, but it is allegedly only a single camera. So not like you get on the Pro where you've got 3 cameras. You're just getting the main 48 megapixel sensor. Now, we don't know what socket it's going to be using, but I'm suspecting it's probably going to be the A16 due to the USB-C requirement. Unless they backport that to an A15 or 14 processor. But
yeah,
I suspect you're going to be getting A16. Maybe it's slightly downclocked or has some cores disabled or something like that, but I suspect it's going to be based on that SoC. But say, that new chassis does mean you're no longer getting a home button or Touch ID. So now the entire lineup is going to be using Face ID for everything.
That's an interesting move, isn't it? Because when you think about what the market that they were positioning this at was probably that, older generation, perhaps I don't want to say budget. That's not the right word for Apple, is it? But a different demographic.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, I guess for their point of view is they need to move everybody across to
USB-C and stuff like that, don't they?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it has to happen. So they can't be bringing out new devices that are all running older
socks, unless they do some
Yeah.
heavy work to backport stuff.
No, so yeah,
We don't know the price though. So the current SE starts at I think £429 in the UK, and the iPhone 14 starts at 699. So the SE slots in under the 14, so it's got to be less than 699. But Apple aren't going to put it at 649 or anything like that. So, but I don't think it's going to be as cheap as 429. So I mean, I could see this coming in at 499 or more, probably more realistically 549.
that would be quite good, wouldn't it? If it's true.
I mean, you're basically getting an iPhone 14 with some of the features of the 15, like the action button and USB-C and stuff like that. Okay, you're only getting one camera, but by the sound of it, you're getting the better 48 megapixel camera from the 15 again. You're getting a mishmash of the two.
But you're not buying it for the camera. That's the thing, isn't it? It's
No, I mean, but still, the 48 megapixel main camera on the 14 I've got is pretty good.
Yeah. Do you know what? If this is true, I have to say to you, you're right. This is one hell of a value prop.
I think if you could get that in at 499 or something like that, that would eat a lot of Android's lunch, I think.
Oh, these would fly off the shelves at that price.
Yeah,
they really would.
If you're, for business users who quite often get lumped with the SE, that'd be a nice upgrade for them as well.
It would do, really would do. And you know what? When I come around to buying one of my children a phone in a few years' time, and these are cheap,
yes, your second-hand one with 200 quid for it, I'd imagine, on eBay.
Yeah,
it'll go down very well.
It'll go down very well. Yeah, not bad at all. So no, I'm interested to see whether or not this is real. If it is, like I say, this could be one that I will be keeping more of an eye on.
I don't know when the last SE came out.
SE3.
Yeah, I don't know when that actually came out. I mean, how long ago was that? Was that a year or two ago?
22.
22. So we are kind of just over a year ago. I was just trying to think when we might see it.
March. So it was March. So
maybe we'll see it next March then.
And that launched at 429 US.
Yeah, 429. But yeah, it was 429 pounds as well. So it was a direct swap.
So there we go. There we go indeed. So quite a good lineup of the SE lineup. Sorry, quite a good impressive lineup from the SE perspective. But yeah, whether Apple will do it, who knows? But we'll see. We'll see. Right. Well, I think that's probably a good place for us to wrap up for today after the bombshell of OpenAI, the rollercoaster of SpaceX, and of course the Broadcom good or bad news, depending where you sit. And the TV that you've got me now to queue up and watch. So we'll be back next week then for episode 151, which is going to be the first episode of December. Can't believe that. Unbelievable. We are still on X, Twitter, whatever you call it this week. You can find us at Weekly Tech Rant on all of our show notes at techrant.online, where we post the links to everything we've talked about today. So if you want to leave us a message, drop us a line, please do. We're always happy to hear your comments, whether we've got something right, something wrong, or whether you just want to tell us something interesting. We're always up for that. So with that then, I've been Jay.
I've been Carl. Have a good evening all.